Good morning from Attingham Park in Shropshire. So I've been checking the weather forecast the last couple of days, and it's suggested that today there's going to be a bit of fog or mist around. So I thought I'd give woodland photography a go. It's something that I don't do very often, if at all. I've done it a couple of times before. So I thought I'd come out today, sort of looked like it's going to be ideal conditions for it. So closest place that I could think of was Attingham Park, where I've been to a couple of times with my wife. Now I've just walked maybe 5-10 minutes down the path, and I've spotted this little scene here. So I've got kind of like two bigger trees. Sorry, I don't know my trees really that well, so I don't know what type of trees they are. I've got two bigger trees, either side's kind of flanking three smaller trees. So, kind of watching videos by Simon Baxter and talking to Mark Littlejohn in the past. I did like a one-day workshop with him a few years back. They talk about kind of relationships with the subjects. So I just see the two bigger trees as kind of like the mum and dad, and then in the middle you've got the three children. So kind of like the mum and dad are kind of either side of the three children. So looking at my camera, it's quite a tricky composition this I found, because I'm finding my viewpoints. So going back to my last video from the Norway when I talked about viewpoint, I've really kind of had to consider the viewpoint as in where I've placed my tripod to take the shot from, because there's like in behind the trees there's a sign on the path. There's a fork in the path, and there's a sign telling what's this way and what's that way. So if I kind of like just position myself just in the slightly wrong place, I can see the sign in the background. So I've just had to be really careful where I place my camera. Also, behind the bigger tree on the left, there's a tree behind that, and I didn't really want to see so much of that. So I think I've pretty much excluded that. Yeah, I've excluded that in my shot at the moment. There is a bigger tree to the right-hand big tree, and there's a little tiny bit of that coming into frame, but the very kind of the bottom of the trunk of that. But I've set my camera to 4x3 crop at the moment, just to kind of remove that, as much of that right-hand tree as I can. So I'm just going to check my focus and set my aperture up. I think I'm going for 5.6, so I've got the 24 to 70mm lens, 2.8 lens. So I'm going to set the aperture to 5.6, because I don't want to be seeing too much of the background in focus, if at all. Just want to kind of get the mum, the dad and the three children in focus if I can. And at the moment it's suggesting 1/4 of a second. Yeah, my histogram's fine. Yeah, so I'll take that shot, have a look at it, see how it comes out. I may have to kind of play about with maybe moving my camera a wee bit more, and then I'll just continue for a wander and see what more compositions I can find. So I've just walked a few minutes further down the path, and I've discovered this little scene I've got here, where I've got two thin mossy trees kind of flanking the edges of the composition. I think it'll work well as a portrait. So I've already had a little look with the camera off of the tripod, and it's a little bit messy of a composition in the background. So it's kind of like, again, finding the right viewpoint. Probably going to say viewpoint so many times in this video now, based on my last video, to try and remove some of the distractions in the background. So if I pop my camera here, now if I'm looking through, yeah, so from here, there's a tree kind of like further in the background, which kind of annoys me, so to speak. So I don't want to see it so much. So if I just move a little bit further to the left, kind of remove that distraction a little bit. I mean, you still see the tree coming up, but I didn't really want to see the trunk of the tree for some reason. I just didn't want to have too much in the, it's hard to say, I don't want too much in the frame, but I mean, obviously there is a lot in the frame, but for me it's just about cleanliness, kind of just checking around the edges of my frame to find what I think is a clean composition. So I think if I just go into live view, I'm shooting at f8 and it's given me a shutter speed of 0.3 of a second. So I'm just going to focus on one of the frontal trees, shall we say, so one on the left or the right, doesn't really matter which one. So I'll just choose the right hand one, which is slightly further back, ever so slightly. f8 should be okay because I don't want to get everything in focus. I kind of want just the main kind of frontal trees to be in focus. So just double check my histogram, that's good, and take the shot. I think that may be okay. Yeah, so there's a bit of mist that's still in the background. It's starting to lift a little bit, so hopefully I can still find some more compositions. But the mist in the background kind of just softens the back of the image, so it kind of removes a little bit of distractions. While I've been here actually the last 5 minutes, it has kind of lifted a little bit. So yeah, I'm just going to continue wandering further around, and hopefully it's still kind of hanging around a bit more, kind of lower level, and it hasn't lifted too much. Yeah, so I'm just going to carry on and see what else I can find. So I didn't have to walk very far at all, maybe about 20 metres, and by another, what I think is quite a nice scene. It's a very chaotic, maybe messy scene, but there's a lot of kind of moss, really vibrant, quite vibrant green mosses on the fallen down trees here. But the mist in the background is really helping to, I think, to soften the image. Let's say it softens the background, removes any distractions from the background of the image. You know, you won't be able to see so much the trees in the very background. It's a bit like a swamp-like scene to me. You've got this kind of really muddy, wet, muddy scene. I mean, I can't walk any further than my tripod set up now. So if we go to the back of the camera, if I switch on live view now, if we have a look at that. So yeah, so what I saw was I've got these two trees with branches from these trees kind of arcing in towards the middle of the frame, going up to the kind of arcing over and up to the top of the frame, and then all the kind of the green mosses sitting down below it. Got my aperture at f8. I think that's going to be fine with this. I mean, everything from pure front to background doesn't have to be in focus. It's going to be a soft image with a mist and what have you. So you know the conditions in the atmosphere. So it's given me an exposure time of 1/6 of a second. So if I just take that shot now, just check I always double check my histogram after I've taken the shot. And yeah, I think that could be quite a nice image. Yeah, I'll see what it looks like in Lightroom. I never know with these kind of shots. You know, I'd say there is a lot going on, but I like it as a scene. It might not transfer into photographs. So that's the thing. You know, you spot a scene, what you think is a really nice composition, it looks nice to the eye, but it may not translate into photograph. Yeah, so we'll just have to see how this comes out. So, time for me to continue wandering. I think it's about 9:30 now. Yeah, the mist is kind of hanging around in some areas, but in other areas I can see it has lifted. So, hopefully I can find some more stuff. So, yeah, I'm just going to keep on wandering around the forest here. So I've come out the main part of the woodland now into what's known as the deer park. Some really nice golden brown bracken around, with some nice lots of trees in the distance there. So my first composition, I'll just switch on live view again. So I've got tree either side flanking the composition, and a central tree, yeah, quite almost in the middle. But I had to be careful about where I placed that tree in the middle there, because I didn't want to obscure the two trees in the middle distance, so to speak. So yeah, it was a bit left to right again, considering my viewpoint. So I've gone for a 4x3 crop at the moment because I wasn't overly happy about two trees to the right of the frame, although I probably will do a 3x2 and slightly change my composition as well and do another shot, just to see if it works as well. So I'm sticking with f8, and that's given me an exposure time of 1/5 of a second. Now I'm just focused on the right frontal tree here. So if I just take the shot, yeah, I think that looks okay. I say that the mist is kind of hanging around in the background still, so it's removing distractions, creating a soft background, removing distractions from the very back. And yeah, so as I say, I'm going to play around with a couple of more compositions here, do a slightly wider 3x2 shot. I also like the branches kind of at the top of the frame, so I did consider a 16x9 crop, but it removed too many of the branches at the top of the frame, which kind of, obviously it frames the top of the frame, so to speak, and I like the way they're coming in, and they're kind of going slightly outside the right hand side of the frame as well. So yeah, so I'm going to have a little wander in this little area and see what more I can find, and then head back into the woodland again, and hopefully the mist kind of still hangs around for a bit longer. I've come into a small part of woodland just off of the deer park, and pretty much because the mist that has been hanging around for the last couple of hours is now lifting quite a bit now, so it's not creating that kind of softness to the backs of the images and creating barriers to the back of the image, and you're able to see a lot further now than I was earlier on. And I come into this sort of woodland, like I said, because of those kind of trees with mossy bits of moss at the bottom of the trunks and whatever that was, you know, really quite vibrant greens, and I was kind of attracted to that. And then as I've explored more, I found this one particular tree which has got its lower branches arcing right over to the ground. So I've kind of walked part way around that tree to try and find my viewpoint, and what I've got is behind that tree there's another tree with a very similar kind of branch that's arcing down. It's not touching the ground, but it's kind of arcing down. So what those two branches are doing is kind of creating like a tunnel effect. So it's helping you to look through the scene, hopefully. But where I am set up, I so where I'm set up now is I set my tripod up initially a little bit further to the right, but unfortunately there's a birch tree which is broken in half behind this main tree, and I just found that a bit messy. So just moving my tripod maybe a foot, if even that, to the left has allowed me to now to hide that broken tree which I found messy behind my main tree in the foreground. So if I just bring up live view and just check my histogram, because I've set up the shot already. I'm shooting at f8, the 24 to 70mm lens is still on. I'm keeping a 3:2 ratio at the moment, just so I can see everything. I may crop it down a little bit, remove some of the right of the image. So if I just take that and double check my histogram, which looks good. Yeah, so I probably will crop a wee bit off the right, maybe even a wee bit off the left there. So I think that's it for me this morning, unless I find something else on the way back towards the car. I've still probably got another half an hour or so before I get back to the car park, so you never know, I might find something else. I'll put it up if I do. So yeah, as I say, that's me finished. So thank you everyone for your support for the last video at the Norwig. That was very much appreciated. So I hope you like this video. I say it's something a bit different for me. The woodland, it's not something I do very much of. So hopefully I've got at least one image that that it's okay out of it. So if you did like the video, yeah, please give it that thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. It's always appreciated. And hit that bell icon to be notified of when another video has been uploaded. Until that video, bye bye.